What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Kevin Coleman, at DuBois_22, and we are here to talk about a little bit freshman focus. Now, I love highlighting these guys on the channel. I know the videos don't do as well because no one really cares about freshman college football players, but I think it's important to see what's coming next in college football and who could be the next guys in fantasy football and where are they coming from and who are these underrated kind of prospects. And there's a kid right now that's actually balling, and I think that when we think of like, hey, who could maybe be that guy that pops off that not a lot of people are talking about, who having a good year in an offense that's not very good with a quarterback that's really struggling. And for us, we're going to be highlighting Antonio Williams from Clemson today. And he's looked really good, 5'11", 190 kid. And he was a very, very, very highly touted prospect coming in. He was a top 100 guy. And when you're looking at just a high school career, so just here, he went 12-1 his senior year in terms of, his team. They won the state championship in 2021. He had 85 catches, 1,600 yards, and 15 scores. He also had 16 carries, and he was a very, very good punt returner. He had 12 punt returns for 365 yards. He averaged 30.4 yard average on his punt returns. And so when we're thinking of just him in high school, what was he? Incredible player. And then he goes to Clemson, and he's kind of, when we're looking at what he's done in his numbers, so let's take a look there. What has he done this year? So in 10 games this year, he has 43 catches, 473 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But he's come on a little bit towards this back end right now. Against Louisville, he had 10 receptions, 83 yards. So we're not talking about a big 8 average up the target, and we're not talking about big yards per receptions, 8.3. But we're starting to see him get targeted more, and he's kind of elevated himself into this wide receiver 1 category. And in an offense, in a passing offense, it hasn't been very especially good, right? So when we're thinking of like what Clemson has been this year, they have not been very good, and DJU has not been there. So when we're projecting and we're thinking of, okay, coming next, what we're going to think of him with Cade Klubnik next year. And I think him and Cade are going to have a very, very good tandem together. And what we've seen, but he has produced, like he's been out there, even though he's only played in those games. Like he's played in every game. He's been out there. FSU had 2 catches for 76 yards. He had that big long touchdown there. So we've seen him kind of project and think, hey, what can he be, right? Like when we're thinking of him as a prospect. Now, like we always do with these, and again, we're just going through like what we think of so far. What is he? So when we're thinking of right away, it's athleticism, right? So one big thing that pops off on his tape when we're going to watch here in a second is just what he can do athletically. And I think he is an athlete. You saw those yards per numbers attempts in terms of his high school career. So if they could get him out in space a little bit more and they can use that, I think that would be great in terms of what he could do on the field. And again, like punt return, kick return, those type of things, like those are the things that you see from an athletic perspective. He pops right off when he catches the ball. Like when you see him out there and you're watching him play, like you can tell that he has that yak ability. And it's just that offense is struggles. It struggles to get playmakers the ball. And I think that's one of those areas that we've been talking about. But it's been there. Okay. His route running is there. Like I love his route running, his ability to kind of create separation. And he's shown that. He's shown that he is actually an above average route runner in terms of what he's been doing. Even with DJU's been struggling to get him the ball and everything there, like he's been able to do that. And I think that's really good. He influences DBs very well. Like he uses his hips very well. DBs don't know where he's going. He's able to kind of get in and out of breaks. Like those are the type of things you like to see. There's a very, very good tape from last game in terms of his ability to get the DBs kind of move. So his route running is right there. And his explosiveness, man, he is an explosive player when he gets off the line. And you're going to see him we're going to watch this. We're going to highlight a couple of the plays, but his ability to get out of the line, and even his press coverage a little bit, even though he's a little smaller, his ability to create that separation, legitimate. Like Antonio Williams has that. So athleticism checks the box. Route running checks the box. Explosiveness checks the box. Now, things that he could probably work on. So in terms of like just as a prospect, what do we want to see out of him? Press release. We haven't seen that too much. Freshman, been talking about like what he's been able to do on the field. He doesn't really get pressed, but this is just a college football thing. Like, they don't really press him there. So what can he be? Now, he's got the size though. 190 is nothing, like he's not a small guy. So when we're thinking of him, like he's not one of these guys we're talking about 175, 170. So he's got the size and the strength, I think. Now, the thing is, he's in a bad offense. So just overall, just what he's asked to do, we're hoping that they can kind of get an offense. Clemson can get an offense, not from the 2007-8 mark, right? Like, hey, hopefully they make some changes this year. Hopefully Klubnik opens up that offense. I think those are the things that you'd be looking to see if you like Antonio Williams and you're a Clemson fan. He's raw, obviously. Like when we're looking at him as a prospect, like, yeah, he produced in high school and we've seen that, but he's still got room to grow. So I just put that on there as like, hey, he's going to be raw in terms of, I think his route running's there. But I think just technically he can get a little bit sounder. But that's really it. Strength, press release. Hey, what can we see here? Can he get off the line and not let him disrupt his routes? Bad offense, can he overcome it? And in raw, like, hey, can he develop? And I think he can. I really like Antonio with what he's able to do. So let's just take a look at some of his games. You'll see him here in the slot. Gets that release, kind of comes off, gets open. Like that's bread and butter, easy. Just able to create that separation, get off the line. Again, here on the outside, catches it on there. Now, his hands is not something I highlighted, but it can be there. Able to catch it over there on the sideline. Like this is one of his best catches. Again, in traffic, sees the ball in, able to keep his feet in. Like those are the type of plays that you like. Again, here, okay, kind of coming over the middle against Georgia Tech. He had a pretty good game against Georgia Tech in terms of what we like to see from production wise. And this was one of his first games, 4 catches, 37 yards. If they did this a little bit more, like this is his yak ability to be able to take it to the outside. I think we'd be seeing a little bit more highlight plays from him. He can do it. They just haven't utilized it very well. And I think it's one of those things we're trying to get Bo, Nagata, all these guys kind of more. Their offense is kind of out of tune with their rushing attack. Like they are the worst team that's a one-loss team in college football, a top 10 team. And I think that they could utilize him a little bit better. You can see him down the bottom of the screen, able to get it out to him quick, able to kind of get it out to the outside, and he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. So those are things I'd like to see about him as a receiver. He's not a small guy. Like he's not in that category. Like he can kind of go on the outside. So it's going to be interesting. So one of those things that I like to highlight, like to talk about, like where he's raw, can he develop that outside game? Like, can he get split out wide? Can he be that guy that goes over the top? Those type of things, right? All right, so let's talk about his outlook. What do we see from him? So I think generally speaking, like we just did a Devy mock. So if you're in Devy college football type of thing, where is he at? So he's going 4th, 5th round. That's where his value is right now. So it's pretty good value in terms of where he's at. Could he be in this class like one of the top guys? I think he's in the top 10. When you're looking at him now, is he underrated based on where he's at? Can Klubnik unleash that kind of talent? I think he can. I think Klubnik can do it. Like if anybody can do it, I think it's Klubnik in terms of where he's at in terms of his value. He went again at the 5'11", so he's still a good value. Like if you're going to take a shot on intangibles and talent, athleticism, Antonio is right there just based on what he's been able to do this season for that program. And he could be wide receiver 1 next year on this team. When you're talking about him, like he could be right there now. And he's had very, very good success against man. So this is some numbers here. With 10 targets, what he's been able to do against man coverage. He's 11-14. So again, caught 11 balls, 218 yards and a touchdown. So when they play man against you, like it is hard for them to stop Antonio. So that's something that you have to highlight as well. Like he's looked very good in that aspect. So keep an eye on Antonio. I think that he's a guy that could be popping off for Clemson's offense next year, be the wide receiver 1. Now, is he the most underrated freshman in college football? He could be because we haven't seen a ceiling yet. And I think that's the question mark. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button underneath. Let us know what you think. Do you like Antonio Williams? Do you think he's a value? Can he kind of elevate Clemson's offense next year with Klubnik? Okay. So I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys next time.